Welcome back to another episode of Talking Stuff. This is the Lettermen Row. We're going to call it the recruiting tidbits, the sweet spot, the 3 or 4 things you need to know for the week coming up here as Ohio State looks to head back home after the 51-10 win over Indiana in Bloomington. 3 things I'm looking at this week for Ohio State on the recruiting trail, and things that I think that Buckeye fans should be paying attention to. First, we've talked about it multiple times in the last few weeks. The running back situation continues to evolve. There is a new name on the board, as we talked about last week. That's Jahmyr Gibbs from Georgia. But the one name that we've talked about in the last 2 months and continues to be at the top of the prospective leaderboard for Ohio State as far as a top target is running back Tre Bradford from Lancaster, Texas. He is a player that has now set his official visit to Ohio State. He'll be in Columbus the next time Ohio State returns home after the Miami game, so October the 5th for the Michigan State game. That's a big visit for Ohio State because Bradford is a player that really could be like the guy that fits as the one back in this class. He kind of is a combination of that scat back and the every down guy that they're looking for, and as Master Teague continues to move up and put himself in the conversation as a big-time player for the Buckeyes down the road, the need for 2 running backs seems to shrink. So that's something to look for. What's interesting with Bradford is that he did pick up a big offer this week from LSU. One of his teammates is committed to the Tigers. Talking to sources around the Ohio State program, that is an offer that they think is going to potentially change things a touch. And I say change things because the feeling right now, before that offer from LSU, is that Ohio State had sort of overtaken Wisconsin as the top team on the list for Tre Bradford. So keep an eye on that moving forward. Second, we're going to talk about the Miami of Ohio game coming up as far as visitors go. It's a 3:30 start at Ohio Stadium, so it's a game that there will be an opportunity for the Buckeyes to put forth a little bit more atmosphere, I guess, for players who are in town visiting. One player who I'm keeping an eye on to see if he makes his trip this weekend is Oklahoma commit and defensive back Ryan Watts. I think that Watts is a player who has not been talked about very much as far as the next potential addition at cornerback, primarily because he is committed to Oklahoma and has been for a while, but also because people get caught up in the 5-star status of Elias Ricks, Keely Ringo, and other players like that. Those guys are a much further long shot, I guess, to end up in Columbus than someone like Watts, who did visit Ohio State over the summer. It was not publicized and not a lot of fanfare around it, but he did visit, and he's obviously talking about returning for an official visit. I think that could happen this weekend. If you look at the way that his schedule lines up, he's got a bye week this weekend, and it may work out in the Buckeyes' favor to get him on campus. So that's part 2 of what I'm really looking for this week. Part 3 is a little bit different, and I think it's something that Buckeye fans should be aware of. Jack Miller, the quarterback commit for Ohio State in the class of 2020, he missed his last game, the September 6th game, with an undisclosed injury. His high school, Chaparral High School, the Firebirds, had the week off on Friday, so he had the time to heal up. And next Saturday, they play Arizona State Power, Saguaro High School. And I don't know if exactly what the situation is with Jack. There was some talk from his coach that he could miss multiple games after his whatever caused the injury last time, whatever caused him to miss his game. So keep an eye on that as far as his health goes. Obviously, we've talked about it on Lettermen Row. There are some concerns and have been some concerns after missing half the season last year with a knee injury and then not being able to compete in the Elite 11 because of a back injury. Ohio State's need for a quarterback in the class of 2020 is obvious. Jack is the guy that they've been targeting and have targeted for the longest time, but they may need a second one in this class, and at some point, if Miller is unable to continue playing and unable to putting out tape and putting on display what he's capable of, don't be surprised if you see the Buckeyes get more aggressive in their pursuit of a second quarterback in the coming weeks. At some point, they may just be forced to make a move and hope that Jack and his family, who have said that they're fine with the idea of a second quarterback coming, really mean that, because at some point that conversation is probably going to have to ramp up. So those are the 3 things I'm watching this week, and I hope that you've enjoyed this edition of Talking Stuff on Lettermen Row. Check back all week long for dotting the I's, Bermanology, and everything else that we've got going on the site. So I'm Jeremy Birmingham. Thanks for watching this edition of Talking Stuff on Lettermen Row.